Hi, everyone. Welcome to the second RSP Q and A. My name is Courtney. I'm the Residence Hall Director here at Hayes Hall. I also work on the Housing Committee, which has a lot to do with the room selection process. So here we are. Throughout this time, if you have any questions or anything like that, there is a live chat box. So please feel free to write your question in the chat box, and I'll make sure I answer them. Just to give a little information to start, general room selection starts tomorrow. We already had our full group selection, which took place last week. We had a medical selection today, and tomorrow starts the general selection process. So I'm just going to give some information, and again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them right in the chat box, and we'll get to them as we go along. So one of the first questions that people have been asking, or one of the misconceptions that we've been having, is that there are going to be no suites available at all during the regular room selection, and that's not true. Only a portion of the suites, quads, and apartments were released for full group selection. So we didn't release all of them, only some of the suites, quads, and apartments were released. So that means that there are some available for general room selection. So it's possible, if you have an earlier time ticket, that you may be able to get a suite, quad, or apartment. It's possible that there are going to be some available to start. It just depends on what's left when your time ticket comes up. So don't freak out. Don't worry that there's none left, because we did save some for general room selection, which starts tomorrow. So that being said, though, it's really important that you have a backup plan if you don't get a suite, quad, or apartment, because even though there are some available, there's definitely not going to be enough for everyone who wants to be in a suite, quad, or apartment. And that's just kind of, based on what we have available, and the demand is a lot higher than what we actually have. So what do I do if I can't get a suite, quad, or apartment? You have a couple of different options. There's actually a video on the Residence Life and Housing RSP website that shows you how you can still assign everyone in your group to a room if there's no suite, quads, or apartments left. So that's one of the options. One of the options is, we recommend whoever has the lowest time ticket, the earliest time ticket, be kind of like the room selection captain. So those people should be the ones selecting the room. Again, they can pull everyone in and assign for everyone. So you want to use the person who has the earliest time ticket. And that person can, if there's a suite, quad, or apartment available, can select for all of you. And the video also shows you what to do if there's not. So say that you're going in to try to select a room. You want to get in a suite, quad, or apartment, and there's none left. You have a couple options. And like I said, I refer you to that video because it shows exactly what to do if you can't get in a suite, quad, or apartment. The first option is that one person who's doing the room selection will be able to assign the group in double rooms in pairs. So say there's a 4-person group, you want to get into a suite or a quad apartment, there's none available. It'll tell you that. That one person who's selecting will be able to select for all 4 people. So what that person will do is they'll uncheck everyone except for the first roommate pair. So say roommate 1 and 2 want to live together. They'll be able to select a room first for themselves and their roommate, and then they'll assign the other pair. So this will be helpful. So say you can't get in a suite, quad, or apartment, but there's 2 double rooms open right next to each other in Alger Hall. That one person will be able to assign 1 pair in one room and 1 pair in another room. That way, even if you can't live in a suite or quad apartment together, you're able to live in a building that maybe you want to live in. If you want to live in a high-rise or a certain residence hall and the space is available, even though you couldn't live together in your full group, you'll be able to still live near each other. So that's one option. One person can just select and assign rooms for all the people in the group. The other option is if you don't want one person to assign the full group, you can go ahead and break up into pairs, and each pair will pick their own room. You can do that by going into where you made your roommate group and just delete everyone except for your immediate roommate. So those are two options. You know, if you don't happen to get a Sweetwater apartment, that doesn't mean that you can't live, you know, in a building you want to live in, or that you can't live right near your friends. So those are a couple options that you have in the event that you're not able to actually be in the same Sweetwater apartment together. Again, I recommend watching the video on the RSP website because that actually demonstrates how exactly to go about assigning your whole roommate group to rooms. Another question that we get, am I able to switch my housing assignment once it's made? And the answer is yes. Every Wednesday the rooms are allowed to be swapped. So say you sign up for a room tomorrow. The first day you'll be able to change your room assignment is the 19th. Say you sign up on the 19th, you'll be able to change your room assignment on the 26th. So those are some options that you have. Maybe something happened. Maybe you decided you didn't want to live where you initially picked. You know, maybe you picked a certain spot and now you've discovered that a room that you want that you think you would like better is open, or in a building that you want to live in is open. You'll be able to, each Wednesday after you sign up, you'll be able to go ahead and change your assignment. One thing I should note though is that you can only change your assignment. You can't change your roommate's assignment. So while you may have been able to sign up for both you and your roommate at the time, if you want to change your room, you can only change your particular space. Then your roommate has to go in and change their space themselves. So if you are going to change rooms, we do recommend that you wait. Maybe if you're the one, if you had an earlier time ticket and you were the one who pulled your roommate in and now you want to change rooms, you'll want to make sure that their time ticket has come already. Because if their time ticket hasn't started yet and you go ahead and swap your room, they won't be able to swap their room until their time ticket. So you run the risk of maybe not being in the same room together. So if you are going to swap rooms, I don't want to say, if you are going to change your room assignment after you've already selected a room, just make sure that your roommate also is eligible to select so that they can change their space also. Again, there's a problem that we run into a lot is that one person will change and assume that just because they pulled in the roommate initially that they can swap for them, but they can't. Each person has to change their own assignment once it's been made. So just make sure that if you are going to switch rooms, once you're able to, just make sure that your roommate is able to select as well. Looking at a question. So we have a question about medical selection in buildings. The brief answer to that is you'll have to go and check on My Red Dragon, the THD where you sign in to select your room. It should tell you what processes that you're able to be in. It should tell you if you are selected in, if you were able to select in medical and general. It would say that right on there. It would let you know if you were eligible to select in the general process. That will be available to you. If you're not, if there's nothing there, that means that you're not eligible to select in general selection. So without being able to look at your exact, without being able to look at what your screen shows and what processes that you're in, the best that I can answer for that is for you to go ahead and check, go log into the housing director where you signed up for housing and see if it lists the general room selection process. And that goes for anyone who may have signed up for special interest housing or a different kind of process that was additional to the general selection. If you're unsure what processes you're eligible to select in, if you go ahead and look at the your main housing page under the housing director, where you viewed your time ticket, it'll let you know if you're eligible for any additional processes. So if you selected for, if you were eligible for special interest or a different kind of process and you are eligible for general process, it will say it right there. I don't know if you signed up for a room already. If you signed up for a space, if you actually selected a spot, you probably would have to wait to do the room swap. But if you didn't actually pick, I would, again, double check what processes that you're eligible for. And it should say that, it'll say that right on the housing director page, what your time tickets are if you're eligible for more than one process. I hope that answered the question as best as it could. Like I said, without being able to see your actual login screen, I'm not sure what processes you're eligible for, but if you don't see anything there, you can always contact Residence Life and Housing Office, and they'll be able to pull up your screen and look at what processes you're able to select in. So long answer short, just check to see what processes are listed for you to be in, and if it allows you to select for general selection, you'll have a time ticket for that. If not, that may be something you have to contact the Residence Life and Housing Office about. So once again, like you can kind of see if you have any questions, feel free to write them in the chat. Again, I don't have the ability to look at everyone's specific screen to see what process that you're in, but if you have any general questions or even specific questions, I'll try to provide as much information as possible. Again, without being able to see everyone's individual login page, I can kind of just answer the general questions the best that we can. So thanks for your question. If you have any more, as we go along, I'm going to just talk about a couple more things. So feel free to jump right in if you have any other questions. So one of the questions that we get a lot also is for people who don't maybe have a roommate yet. And there's a couple options for that too. The room selection process, the RSP form that you filled out initially to be able to select a room, that opens up again for editing tomorrow. So if you want to go ahead and change anything on that form, you can. Also, currently, if you would like to go and edit your roommate group, so you're able to do that if maybe your roommate group changed, if you didn't get full group, or you wanted to add roommates, or again, if you didn't have a roommate, you're able to go ahead and make any changes to your roommate group. So if you don't have a roommate, you can go ahead and use the roommate search. If you know who you want to live with, you can put their name in the simple search, or you're able to use the advanced roommate search. You're going to be able to do that again. So if you don't have a roommate, you're able to check that out. Go right ahead and use the advanced roommate search. The advanced roommate search allows you to pick a couple of criteria that are really important to you, such as maybe like room cleanliness, guests, early to bed or rise, when like to get up and go to sleep, study habits. You can pick whatever is important to you, and it'll show you a list of available roommates, and you can kind of go through and contact somebody or add someone and request them to be your roommate. If you don't want to do that, if you don't care who you live with and you just want to be able to pick a room, starting April 26th, we will allow people to sign up and fill one space in a double room, and then you'll just get a random roommate. Currently, in order to be able to pick a room, you have to go ahead and have a full room, so you have to be able to fill both beds. But starting on April 26th, we lift that restriction. So if you just want to have a random roommate but still want to choose your room specifically, you'll be able to go in as a single person and select a space, and you'll be assigned someone. Either someone else will be able to jump in there with you, or you'll be assigned someone from Res Life over the summer. Question is, how do I pick a room? You might not be able to pick a room right now because general room selection hasn't started yet. So you have to go and look at what your time ticket says. So when you go to see, like when you go to your general, your home page on the housing director, once you log in from My Red Dragon, it should tell you when your time ticket is. So you have to look at the bottom. So it'll give you initially the general window. It'll say that general room selection starts April 12th and runs through whatever the end date is. Right below that, it'll say you'll be able to start picking, and it'll give you a certain date and time. So you may be able to look at rooms right now because we do have it available for people to be able to browse and see what rooms are available. But if it's not within your time ticket, you won't be able to actually select a room. So you can't pick a room until you actually are within your sign-up window. Like I said, general selection starts tomorrow, but you may have a time ticket ranging anywhere from tomorrow through sometime next week, depending on when you were assigned. So my recommendation is to just go check out on your homepage for the housing director and take a look at when your time ticket starts. Once your time ticket starts, you should be able to select a room. The only reason at that time why you wouldn't be able to select a room is if, again, like I mentioned just a minute ago, if you don't have a roommate, you wouldn't be able to, as one person, select a room until April 26th. So I hope that helped. If you're still having issues after that, if you are within your time ticket and still can't pick a room, something I would contact the Residence Life and Housing Office about. But right now I can think of the reason why you can't pick is because general room selection hasn't started yet. So make sure you know when your time ticket is and check back once that window has opened and you should be able to pick a room. Hope that helped. Like I was saying earlier, any changes you need to make to your RSP form, say you decide that you want to be assigned by somebody over the summer, maybe you're not able to find a roommate, or you don't want to pick your own room, and you want Residence Life and Housing to just assign you over the summer. No worries, you can go ahead and change your RSP form starting tomorrow, and you would just go ahead and select the option that says, I wish to be assigned by Residence Life and Housing over the summer. And at that point, you will be assigned a space and a room, and then you'll be notified of that once housing assignments go out in the beginning of August. Another question we get often is, how do I live with somebody who is going to be an incoming student? And that's a great question also. You can't pick a room and pull someone in who technically isn't a student yet. So if you want to live with an incoming student, you won't be able to pick a space right now. You won't be able to pick a room, but you can go ahead on your RSP form and note that. There's a space to note that on the RSP form. And you want to make sure that you enter their name of the incoming student as well, so that you can be matched up with them. And then when they do their housing form in the summer, they'll have to write you as well. So as long as you both request each other, there should be no problems living together, and you'll just be assigned a room over the summer by the Residence Life and Housing Office. For those of you who may just be joining, I see we have a couple people who have joined recently. Just answering any room selection process questions that you have. If you have specific questions that may be just very specific to you, I can try to provide general information if possible. But some questions may require somebody from Residence Life and Housing Office to pull up your screen and be able to kind of see your time ticket and what processes you're in. So I can try to answer any general questions now. We've talked a little bit about selecting a room, what to do if you don't have a quad or apartment available. We talked a little bit about when you can do room swap if you want to change the room that you picked. That's possible. You're able to do that. And just some other highlights that you're able to change a roommate group currently. You can search for a roommate. You can add someone. You can change roommates in your roommate group. You can delete people in your roommate group. And then any changes you want to make to your RSP form, you're able to do that starting tomorrow. And just a reminder that general room selection also starts tomorrow. So everyone, as long as you filled out your RSP form by the deadline, you should be able to go on and check your time ticket if you haven't already. And just a reminder again, the time ticket will say that it starts tomorrow, but you will be given an individual ticket time. You just have to kind of scroll down a little bit and it'll give you your actual window from when you can pick a room. So just make sure that you are aware of your time ticket. Make sure that you and your roommate group have backup plans as selection goes on. Like I said, there will be some suites, quads, and apartments available, but not everyone who wants one will be able to get one. So make sure that you and your roommate group have a backup plan. Check out some of the videos on the RSP page It specifically shows how you're able to handle picking a room if you can't get a suite quad or apartment. And again, if you have any other questions, feel free to contact us being the Residence Life and Housing Office. They're open during normal business hours during the day. They'll be able to come in and they can actually look up your C number and kind of pull up the window that you see. They can kind of pull up your housing page. They'll be able to tell you more about your time ticket and when you're eligible to select a room if you're not sure about that. Again, any questions that you have, feel free to ask them. Also ask your hall director. They're really good resources. They are able to answer a lot of questions for room selection also. So if anyone doesn't know where the Residence Life and Housing Office is, it's in Van Heusen. On the first floor when you walk in, right near Career Services, pretty much right across the hall from Career Services. So if anyone has any other questions, I'll just talk about your room deposit real quick, and if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. If not, like I said, if something comes up, if you're watching this, not live after the fact, feel free to ask your hall director or contact the Residence Life and Housing Office if you have any other questions. One last thing I want to mention really quickly, that your $150 room deposit is due by May 1st. You don't have to wait till May 1st to pay it. You can pay it anytime. You can go right online and pay it if you want. You can pay it up at student accounts as well in Miller Building. So make sure you do that by May 1st. Really important, because you maybe went through room selection, you're going to have a great room, you're really excited to live with your friends, you're really excited to live in the hall that you're living in. But if you don't pay your room deposit by May 1st, there's a good chance that you could get pulled out of that room assignment. So, that's the last thing anyone wants, is to be excited to have picked a room, but then you lose that room because you didn't pay your deposit. So May 1st, that's the important day. You can pay it any time up until then. So please make sure you do that. If you're having any issue with the $150 deposit, please contact financial aid. They'll be able to kind of help you out with some options to see what you can do there. Otherwise, like I said, if you're kind of joining in late, this chat will be archived, so you'll be able to kind of go through and see what kind of questions were asked, and see what other information So I'm just reading the other question. And I'm sorry to say that I actually am not entirely sure of the answer to that. I do know for all gender housing, there was another like an agreement that had to be filled out in order for people to be able to select into all gender. I'm not sure if someone can now be pulled into all gender who didn't fill out that form already, who didn't fill out that agreement form. That's all the information I have for you on that. I apologize for not being able to really answer that question. What you can do, like I said, I was mentioning talking to the Residence Life and Housing Office. You may be able to go in, stop in, they're in Van Heusen, and they would be able to maybe have a better answer for you for that. I just know that normally people have to, if we ask for there to be an agreement for special interest housing, normally people have to have filled that out in order to be able to live in that special interest housing. That's all the information I can provide, but like I said, if you contact the Residence Life and Housing Office, I may be able to provide some additional information and see kind of what your options are to be able to live where you want to live with your friends. So I would check that out. Like I said, I know that the special interest housing selection is pretty much over as well. So I'm not really sure what your options would be there, but that would be something that I definitely would contact the Residence Life and Housing Office for. They can kind of give you what your options are for that area, because I know that special interest housing selection was a little bit earlier. And like I said, there usually is an agreement that needs to be filled out, especially for the all gender housing. So sorry, I can't provide more information for that. I would definitely contact Residence Life and Housing and see what your options are for you and your friends to be able to select a space. Like Like I said, any other questions, comments, concerns, talk to your hall director, talk to Residence Life and Housing. Always start with your hall director. You know, they may have the answers. They may not know all the specific questions. Like, I apologize for not, having a more solid answer for that question about, all gender housing. But our RHEs are good resources for general information, and for anything that, like this, that you can't get a solid answer on, the Residence Life and Housing Office in Van Heusen is a really good resource for you to use. So like I was starting to say earlier, this chat is going to be archived. So if you are coming in late, or anyone else who has housing related questions, feel free to have them watch this or check it out from the beginning, see what kind of things we talked about. Other than that, just a reminder that the general selection starts tomorrow. Make sure that you check your time ticket so that you know exactly when you're able to select a space. And make sure that you people who are signing up in your roommate group have done the same, and make sure you guys know who has the earlier ticket, because that person should be the one doing the selecting. Once again, check out the RSP website for lots of videos and screenshots and helpful information with doing room selection. Once again, my name is Courtney. I'm the Residence Hall Director in Hayes Hall and also a member of the Housing Committee. Good luck with room selection. If you have any other questions, like I said, contact Residence Life and Housing. And I hope that this was somewhat helpful for you guys. Other than that, have a good night.